Thank you for tuning in to the Light of Conscience, where the knowing that exists where thoughts do not lights the way. Subscribe to stay inspired. The best compliment you can give us is to share this with a friend. You can also leave a rating, write a review to help others find us. The more the merrier in the light of conscience. Love itself is molding us into what we be. Why wait for tomorrow when right now we can be free? So break down your defenses and throw away your shield and give yourself this moment to believe in what you feel. Thank you so much for tuning into the Light of Conscience podcast. Today I'm talking to Brian Mahar, who is a way-showing photographer following his heart path, and I cannot wait for you to meet him. So, Brian, welcome to the Light of Conscience podcast.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here, joining us.
Long time.
Yeah, we met in April at the Shift to Rise retreat, and that was just amazing. You took photos that were just beyond incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I just can't wait to hear more about your story. I would love for you to share first what makes you a way shower, if you even know what that means.
Well, I think I have an idea. I think what makes me a way shower is that I was a person who self-proclaimed stuck in the machine of someone else's business. And that really, I had a couple life events that really made me realize that I need to be there for myself and for my family. And I'm still currently trying to kind of break free of that. But I realized that I hadn't really done much for myself. I had dreams, things I wanted to do, paths I wanted to take, and I just kind of got stuck in the routine, if you will. And my photography has really made me feel like I'm seeing the world differently, if that makes sense. Not necessarily differently, but I'm seeing it in my way. It's not just I try not to be, just your run-of-the-mill picture. I don't do anything crazy yet, but that's really it. Is I think I just want to start following my own path and kind of show other people that they can do that too.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, that's all a way shower is, somebody who's following their own light, and that in itself shows others that it is a way and that they can do it as well. So when did you start photography? Is that what kind of got you out of your day job?
What's funny is I had always wanted a camera. That was one of those things to me that was also one of those roadblocks. And I never let myself get one. And because I didn't want to point and shoot, I wanted the ability to kind of be in the moment, not just hit a button. So finally, a year and a half ago, I let myself buy a camera. And so it's really been I would say 2 years that I've even been taking pictures. And it was just kind of something I had people say that I had an eye or whatever. It really just felt natural to me. Felt like I got to have a little bit of expression for once.
Wow. So you really did what most of us do and sabotaged yourself for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And that's what hurt most, It does. That realization that, man, I got a lot to make up for, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think that we all, just to, not to diminish that experience of, oh shit, I have a lot to make up for, but yeah. I think a lot of us feel that way because as way showers, as people who do follow their heart path, we didn't usually start by following it. We usually started by trying to fit into the rest of society. So absolutely. Yeah. You're not alone in feeling like, oh no, I have much to make up. But the reality is your experience in that system was just as important as you getting out of it. In fact, you couldn't ever get out of it if you weren't in it. So yes, I understand where you're coming from. And then I don't want you to feel guilty about not being a photographer for your whole life.
No, I don't. And I think that's the valuable piece of it is the realization, the journey there. And I'm not saying that I was miserable for all of my 38 years. I was just I was choosing the wrong thing, I think. And this was like a realization that just made me feel like this is right. That's really what I mean.
Yeah, you got to what feels good by going through
Yeah.
what maybe doesn't. Oh, that's so cool. So what are the subjects that you focus on when you
For now, I do a lot of nature, which is not really something I thought I would do. A lot of street at night in the wrong parts of town, which I haven't done much of that lately, but that was one of the things I spent a lot of time doing. I used to go to downtown Seattle at 2 a.m. and hang out with the wrong type of people. Not hang out with, but I would take pictures of them. Saw a couple drug deals go down, just kind of the after the bar type stuff, and just kind of catching people in their element, whether it was really considered good or bad. Just life is really what I was after, the now. And that's a big part of it for me, is being present. And I hope to do some food photography. Has always been a passion. And I've really not, I don't think I'm quite there yet, but travel is probably the next thing I'm going to bite off, is vacation photography for people, companies, whatever.
Wow. So you're really, it sounds like you're following those little calls
Mm-hmm.
and just going with that when it's right. So right now, do you do mostly nature? Because I'm telling you, like, if I could not have anything man-made in a photograph ever, I would be like ecstatic.
It's
There's
funny you
something
say
about
that.
nature.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because when I'm nature isn't like a theme I want to pursue. I think it's something to keep me shooting. It's very different than taking a portrait. It's very different than shooting at night. I mean, it's so much more, I think, finicky, because you've got color and you've got, different things you want to focus on. But it's funny that you say that, because when I'm outside, I will see things and I'll be alone deep in the woods and it's wet, and I'm wearing green, like I am now, just greenish clothes so I don't stand out. And I'll see something that's like a boardwalk or something, and I'll literally out loud just go, ah, man, because it like takes away from it. It's like not pure. And so, yeah, I see what you're saying there.
Yeah, there are so many like mountain shots I want to grab, but with my iPhone, I'm not a photographer per se, but
You can do a
I'm
lot
like,
with an iPhone. Yeah.
you can, but I'm like, oh, that's the most gorgeous view of this mountain, and then there's this freaking power line in there, and
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
just
It's
no,
always
I'm not
that
doing it.
in power line.
Yeah, I love how you were talking. I'd actually like to hear if you have any stories about the quote unquote wrong parts of town. The way that you expressed that was actually very artful to me. With, of course, there's no wrong and right, right? And I know you don't even
Yeah.
feel that way, but that's the societal
That's what I mean,
label.
exactly. Is the judgment of, that's a judgment in and of itself. And I think that's an individual thing, is however you feel about it. I thought it was flipping awesome. So you said you want to hear a story about it.
Sure, anything.
All right, so my favorite shot I have taken probably to date is a picture. um, I was just out shooting around, really trying to get to know my camera in these settings, because it's opposite of everything and learn. But my favorite shot is there's a male and a female on like a BMX type bike, and I'm just kind of seeing them, and I'm like, every time I would take a picture, I was like fumbling through the settings, like, oh, they're moving, oh, there's light, oh, there's what am I gonna do? And I just kind of followed them, and I just took a series of what turned out to be about 6 shots. 5 of them sucked, and one of them, this girl who was riding kind of in tandem on the back of this bike, looked like into my eyes through the camera, and everything else was kind of in a blur in motion, except for her. And it was so just gritty. Like the moment was gritty. And I thought, oh man, I've got to like, this is cool, because someone's on a bike. I have not seen anyone on a bike yet. And so I went to like kind of follow them. And as soon as they passed me, maybe a block away, they literally did like the handshake drug swap. And I was like, how awesome would that have been? But then I looked at the picture that I captured, and I was like, that couldn't get any better. That is 3 a.m. street, night street photography, like that's what it is. That's what it's about. That's my winner.
Wow. Am I able to see that? No, wait, are
It's
the viewers, are the listeners able to view that?
Yeah, I think I actually should dig that one up, but I think it is buried on my Instagram somewhere.
On your Instagram? Can you
Yeah,
please tell us what your Instagram is? Because we all want to follow you now.
it is at BP Mahar, BPMAHAR.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for that. I can't wait to go find it.
It's deep in there somewhere.
We'll know when we see it, I
Yeah.
think. It won't be very hard to know that that's what we were talking about. Can you tell us a little bit about what it means to be alive to you? And how did that come through? Does that come through your photography, or was that another life experience? You talked about you said a couple life experiences happened, and
Yeah, so I have had a couple where I've really just kind of told myself I need to do this different. One was an infection when I was much younger, well, 19, I guess. So yeah, that's much younger. That was kind of the negative way to realize that. And then when I eventually healed, I was like, kind of, I've got this again. What I think it means to be alive exactly is just being able to put yourself in the moment. And that's something I've typically had a real difficult time doing. There was always something I had to do tomorrow. There's always something I didn't do yesterday. And they typically had to do, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, they typically had nothing to do with what my passions are. And I, along with what I would consider to be a lot of people, I think need to force themselves really to just kind of be in that moment. Like right here is what it is to be alive to me. And I think that's why I've chosen photography, is because it's really not a work in progress. It's that moment, whether it's a 1 second shot or a split-second shot. That's that moment you cannot recreate. And I think that's romantic, to have something that is right now. And I actually got so into that idea that one of the reasons I want to be in the moment is for my daughter. And I had her like write that out, be present. And eventually I'll, drum up the cash to have that tattooed, like a place that I cannot hide it. And I'm thinking like, on my arm, just being present, I think is a valuable lesson to learn. And I think that's a lesson. Exactly. You can't just fall into it. I think you need to learn that.
that was definitely valuable, what you just said.
That's the short version.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, how often are we somewhere and we wish we were somewhere else? And
Mm-hmm.
how much suffering do we all go through because of it? Where if we could just, you know what? Yeah, those people are hiking out there and I wish I was there and I got some FOMO, but what if I was just completely involved in this moment right here and right now? Then we wouldn't suffer because we would just be okay with being where we are. I absolutely love that. And then how you're capturing those moments on, in your photography, and that can just last forever.
Which is ironic because to me it almost feels like a dichotomy, because you look at a picture from it's always going to be from the past, but you look at a picture that you did before and you kind of feel that past feeling. So I don't know, it's kind of funny when you think I've thought about that a lot, just sat and thought about that very thing. It's like, I'm saying I want to be present, but I'm doing something that literally captures the past. But I think I know what I mean. So I think I know I'm not full of shit. I am, but I think I'm not.
That's awesome. Well, and when we look at that photograph, we are still looking at it in this present moment. So it is of the past, but we're experiencing it right now. So
let's go with that.
Yeah, life is a paradox. It's all good. So do you want to tell us about choosing a path and how maybe you chose yours, or how you might help guide others to choose a path, or your wisdom around that?
I wanted to, and I'm kind of doing this full circle thing right now. I've taken a break, if you will. My social media has been slow. My photography has been slow. because I'm going toward the first version of this mentality that I've got, or need to hang on to, was I wanted to take people on outdoor excursions, trips, hikes. I had a kayak trip. I grew up playing ice hockey, and it was my everything. There is nothing outside of hockey. I went on a couple trips like in high school. One was a 10-day hike. One was a 5 or 6 day kayak trip. And from the kayak trip was the second. And I had to go literally straight from our drop point, like where we met our rides, straight to hockey practice. And I had this realization that was buried after that, but I had this realization that was the most relieving thing I've ever experienced. I've got a lot of anxieties. I've got a lot of depressions. That moment, that trip, it was all gone. And I think that's really what told me that that's what I wanted to do, because it terrified me that someone else could go through just settling for whether you want to take the Western medicine approach, or just settling for the fact that that's their life, that's their routine, right? Is that constant mental health struggle, being terrified that they have to go to work tomorrow. The weird things, the things that we don't really, normal people don't really think about. Just being able to break somebody free of that is kind of what put me in that passion. So now I'm kind of a photographer who's going back to the fact that I want to show other people my journey, which that's the part where I'm not quite there yet, is the how. And the get off your ass part, like that's the hard part, right? So all of that kind of put together, it's been a jumble. I can't identify really one thing, because it's been a few things that I think I've learned that have put me on this path.
You know what I think? I think you're in the perfect place right now.
I agree. I mean, I'm wrestling with myself, and everyone, that's the battle. You've got to wrestle with yourself, or else what? You stay in that cycle, right?
Yeah. Wrestle with yourself, and then eventually, in my experience anyhow, because trust me, oh my God, I'm like, internally, I'm like an all-star wrestler. So I know where you're at. and I'm having some of that right now as well, because at the time of our recording of this, I have 2 more days left at my day job, or my, money per hour job.
Right.
And what is coming forth, I don't quite know. And so I'm in the space of allowing, and then in the space of being in that very uncomfortable, for me, it is very uncomfortable to not have something I have to go do right now. Not
right.
like then I try to make shit up. Like, okay, I have to do this on social media, or I have to create this kind of a thing, or no, I actually don't. I can actually just be in this wrestly space, and then relax and breathe into it and let things come to me.
And that's something I don't know how I would, that's a part of it that I don't know how I'm going to deal with yet, is the clock in, clock out. It's the most disgusting part of it. But at the same time, it's like, what am I going to do? I know that I'll be working, but what am I going to do? I don't have to be somewhere. And that's weird. That's weird.
I love that we're shedding light on this, because that clock in, clock out, that is a false security. And that's why people do it. We, in this culture, we've not been taught how to locate the security that we ourselves are for ourselves.
Right.
And so that's why we clock in and out. It's easy, and it feels like we are then taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. My where I kind of head with this is like, I really want to do this, but if I screw up, I have nothing to fall back on if I'm over there doing that thing. If I do nothing, I know I've got X amount of dollars coming to me, and I can keep this drill going. I can keep this cycle going. And I think that's where a lot of people are. And that's the realization, is that's what's kept me at times from even allowing myself to think about it. And I think a lot of people feel that way, right? I know I've got $600 a week coming to me if I stay clocking and clocking out. There's not much journey there, though.
That's, yeah, I love that we're talking about this. It's actually bringing us to the third point you had mentioned you wanted to talk about, which is the universal you. And it's also bringing up for me what I've learned, and you saw this, you took photos of this, excuse me, when we were at the retreat, Shift to Rise. That was with Ryan Sharaba. He was on the podcast.
Yeah.
He and Tara, they were all on the podcast already. So Brian was our photographer for that event, and I taught Kundalini yoga at that event.
Yeah.
Kundalini yoga is so, yeah, and it's so weird that it knocks you out of that clock in, clock out mentality, the, you know, just the rhythm of life that you've kind of allowed yourself to fall into.
Yeah.
And it allows you to realize your own security. So I love that we're talking about all of this. And if you have anything to add about the universal you, I cannot wait to hear it, because everything you're saying is so awesome.
I think what I meant by that is for people to understand their place. And people can think they're big or think that they're small. But I think most people think that they're small. But putting yourself in this place of the universe, it's kind of like being present, I guess. Understanding the universe versus how stupid is your iPhone, or how, you know, not stupid, but it doesn't mean anything. I think this whole system of really nature, it's all nature, right? Has a place in the universe. You know, to us, you could say that, to us, we're someone else's experiment. What'd the guy say on, I think it was a movie, we're this speck of dust under some other being's thumb, to put it comedy kind of way. But yeah, it's just, you think about it, and I've been thinking about it, like, this is everything and nothing at the same time. And you can't really go much further from that, because it's like, well, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, it is. You made me think of one of the Rick and Morty episodes too, where like their universe was powering this universe, which was powering this universe. And
yeah, so. Right. It's like paying off a credit card with a credit card. It's just all this weird continuous. Where does it end? It just doesn't.
Yeah. So I have a question for you then. Where do you go in your mind or in your heart or wherever it is when those thoughts do arise of, I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to work, but I don't know what it's going to look like. Does a fear creep in? Does doubt creep in? Like, what happens, and how do you, because I think our processes are going to help other people. That's why I'm asking the question.
When I'm shooting, I'll call it, when I go to work, like clock in, clock out, I don't have to think about anything. I just have to be there, right? When I go pursue, whether it's art, painting, or cooking, I love to cook, but whenever it's creating, and let's call it photography, whenever I'm there, that whatever I'm feeling usually dictates like the mood of the shot. So I remember being extremely anxious while I'm shooting a certain picture, but I try to kind of be numb, and that's difficult. And by numb, I just mean like I use that to try to break away, but it's not just a breakaway. Sometimes a lot of that mood shows up in the picture. I don't really have I don't put in the headphones or have, the opera music. Like, I don't try to take away from it. I really try to embrace it, which is sometimes awful. Sometimes I will leave the house to go take pictures, and I will turn it back around and go home. But that place is really me embracing now.
And honestly, I think that your photos are more profound when you put the emotion of the human experience into them. And maybe that's why from the retreat, those photos, that we got back, we're just like, whoa, yeah.
I think the most I let myself put the camera down and really embrace that, because I tried to participate as much as I could. I think the most separated from myself I felt was the crystal bowl ceremony. I can't remember what that's called, but I was in my chair. In my chair, and I thought this would be a really cool thing to take pictures of, but I couldn't. I couldn't get up. I couldn't distract myself enough from it. And I would have felt awful distracting other people because of what that experience felt like. It was something else. I mean, I'd never been a part of that. So that was a great thing to experience.
Yeah, so I'm just going to put in a plug here for Emma Kupu Mitchell. She was the singing bowl player for that. She was invited to this Shift to Rise retreat that both Brian and I were in, and took part in different ways. And we were able to receive that sound healing. And as a vocal sound healer, I absolutely admire all sound healing.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows your nervous system to shift into a relaxed state that we're not used to having. So it's just beyond awesome. I love that kind of thing. And I'm actually very glad for you that you were able to let yourself experience it rather than having to photograph it, because I know that's why you were hired was to photograph. But
it was one of those things for me that it did to me what I think I kind of love and I want to do to other people, is it really tricked my senses. For example, you look at a picture, you expect to merely see it, but I want you to hear it. I want you to feel it. And that was one of those things, like I could see, I felt, and of course I heard, because it was an auditory, what'd you call it? Auditory?
Sound healing.
Yeah. Sound healing. Thank you. I mean, obviously you hear it, but there's the different senses that's something I want to involve, is just make something like that just hit you.
Well, I can only see that happening through your work. I really can. I just, way you approach, the way you approach your passion and your heart and your path. I think especially in the beginning stages, we just have no idea how much we affect other people.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to be listening to this podcast and they're not going to say anything ever. But just from hearing the things that you said, their life will change. So if that is you, please do reach out to us. Leave a rating and review if you want to. But, mention Brian. It's when you're starting out with your path, it's, as we almost all know, it's very difficult because we don't understand, we don't see the benefit that we're actually putting out into the world, but we are, and it will ripple. So
I think something that somebody said to me recently was along the lines of, if you're trying for perfection, you'll never be good. And that's something that I really kind of was like, that's true. But I think, anyone who's got any type of dream, any type of idea or want in their life, and they've also got that person or something on their shoulder or whatever it is, who's giving them that doubt, you've got to say, like, fuck that guy, because you will never get off. You'll never take one step toward that thing. And I've had people saying, you'll never be a professional photographer. The world is so competitive, blah, blah, blah. I could listen to that, right? Everyone does. A lot of people do. You've got to just embrace what you want, what your dream is.
It's so true. I mean, how many yoga teachers are there? How many Reiki masters are there? How many podcasts are there out there? It doesn't matter. Yeah. Nobody is me. Nobody is you. Nobody is anybody else. So the more we stop trying to succeed, almost, like, obviously don't stop doing what we love and what's calling to us. But when we stop trying, we stop efforting, is another way my friend says it, and allow ourselves to just live and be in the world as we are, then it doesn't matter.
You just said it, like, you're not me. Expression, right? Everybody has a different expression. And if everybody were the same, that'd be a real shitty place. I, for one, I like weird shit, and I like it because it's different. It's not me. it's not the person I just saw. It's that one person's courageous enough to be different or to just be themselves. I mean, you don't get that a lot, I don't think anyway.
No, and that's what I love about what you're capturing in your photography. You capture people as they are. That's important. That's so important. And then, other people can see that and they can feel it. Like you were saying, yeah, you see it, but then there's other things like, can I hear this? Can I feel this? Like when we look into that woman's eyes, we see her, but we're going to feel her and feel the energy of that moment. And I just am so excited for you and to have you in the world.
Thank you.
Showing the way. I really mean it. And I'm wondering if there are ways that people who are listening in now can get a hold of you, can connect with you. Maybe they have an idea for something that they want to have photographed, but they don't know who can do it. Or maybe they just want to connect with you on social media or something. Is there a way that they can do that?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Twitter. My Twitter is PUCKWRX. And again, my Instagram is @BPMAHAR. Those are really the best avenues. I don't have a web domain yet. So that's my probably next step to really get moving. But those are the best ways. I've had a couple of companies reach out through social media, and that's, we're all glued to it. So I don't tend to miss things on there. So that's really the best way.
Okay, wonderful. And we'll have all that in the show notes. Are you in the Light of Conscience community yet on Facebook?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I think you are.
I'm there as well. Yeah.
So you can reach out to him there too if you want to and join us. And let's continue this conversation in there because this has been fabulous. I have absolutely loved having you as a guest. And I again, I see only good things in your future.
Yeah, it's been fun, and it's a fun journey. You look up more than you look down. And I think that's a good thing for people to do.
That was a perfect thing to end on. Thank you so much, everyone. Keep your head up. Look up more than you look down. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thanks, Laura.
Bye.
Bye.
That was really fun and inspiring. I hope it was for you as well. And I hope you do join us in the Light of Conscience community on Facebook to continue the conversation and open up some more like it. Let me hear your story. Let us know what you're struggling with so we can inspire you to keep going when you're tired or take a break and then get back up again. It's a really great group and you are a super awesome bright light that I am so excited to help keep shining. bit.ly/LOC community, or you can search Light of Conscience community on Facebook and you'll see the whale. If you're curious about what this Kundalini yoga is that I keep talking about, join us. Oh my God. I'm starting an online. It is live. So it's live online. It's via Zoom. If you don't know what that is, it's super easy to use. All you need is internet. And you can do Kundalini yoga right at your own home. So there's no fear about being the first timer because everyone else in the class knows exactly what's going on. But honestly, Kundalini yoga, no one ever knows what's going on. It's amazing and weird and so much fun. And beyond all of that, it is incredibly transformational. Like, your nervous system gets a complete reset with every class. So join us. It starts Friday. It's going to be at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, which is 8:30 a.m. Hawaii. And Central would be 12:30, so like noon 30. If you're interested, DM me on Instagram at Light of Conscience, LIGHTOFCONSCIENCE. Please follow me as well, and I'll follow you back. And let's just, connect. I cannot wait to see you in the Light of Conscience. Make sure to check out Club LC for that weekly Reiki, and Kundalini Yoga will also be available there. You get some extra perks if you join Club LC with that. So you know where to find that. It's bit.ly/club LC. There's so much goodness, and I just can't wait until the next time. And don't give up on your life. Your dreams give hope and offer light. Let's the gifts we're